Greetings, everyone. Well, I think it's about time I finished those Blu-ray updates I started a couple weeks ago. What do you guys think? Well, let's get started on that today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Well, today, once again, I'm actually going to devote the entire video to one of them because I've got a lot to say about it, and I'm going to do the same thing in the next one as well because I've got a lot to say about that one. Because, you know, I just don't want to rush it. I just don't want to rush it. And you know me, I like to be thorough, so... Okay, so this first one has actually been recommended to me literally for years by my good friend Stoudman, and, well, I finally picked it up. This particular one is yet another stellar example of just how good old movies can look on Blu-ray when done properly. I am, of course, talking about the classic Steven Spielberg science speculation, not science fiction, science speculation film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The 30th anniversary edition, no less. In a word, wow, this is such an amazing set. So let's take a closer look at the contents of the set, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts and impressions and opinions and such as we go. Okay, so first off, you basically have a nice box, got all the contents listed on the back there. Nice spine. This is a Sony Pictures release, because of course it's a Columbia Pictures film, and Sony owns Columbia Pictures now. I remember when Columbia Pictures was a Coca-Cola company. Any of you guys remember that? You'd see the Coke logo at the bottom of the statue image. Anyway, okay, so you basically have a nice box. Slide the contents out, and before I give you a look at those, just look at this. See, it wraps around nicely inside there, so nothing catches. And it's not one of those cheap boxes with the flap that folds in. No, this is a proper box, so you don't have to worry about anything catching on the inside or anything like that, and it's nice sturdy cardboard, which is great. So I'm just looking at the little flip out screen there to make sure you can see everything. Look into the box. Okay, so we'll just set this aside. It's very nice. And then inside you have, well, first off you have this beautiful collector's book. This actually reminds me of what you get with the digibooks. This book is kind of similar in content, so we'll just take a quick flip through here. So you have all kinds of pictures, and you do have a lot of behind-the-scenes pictures, but not a lot of behind-the-scenes information. You know, so kind of interesting. Francois Truffaut, who was quite a notable director himself, in a rare acting appearance. Where is it here? It says, yes, behind the scenes, an insider's look at the making of the film. And it's some really cool photos, but throughout the whole thing there's all of like, yeah, like here, there's just like a little blurb about the Devil's Tower location and stuff like that. Really, in terms of giving you a ton of insight into the making of the film, the book doesn't do much for you. But is it a nice book? Definitely, because it just has so many gorgeous pictures in it. And to me, it's really fascinating to get a look behind the scenes at movies from this era, because this era was really a groundbreaking era for visual effects and creativity. I mean, we were seeing things that we'd never seen before, literally, and wondering how the heck they did it a lot of the time. So that's the collector's book, so that's very cool. But what about the discs themselves? Well, this is the other part of the package. There you go. So basically it's just a standard gatefold, and it is a 2-disc set. So we'll get into the contents of the discs in just a moment here, because I want to show you this. Now, one thing that's really cool about the 30th anniversary edition is it has all 3 cuts of the movie. It's kind of like the Blade Runner edition of Close Encounters, you know. So you have all 3 versions of the movie on disc 1 via seamless branching, which is very cool. Now, you may be wondering, what about the differences between the 3 versions? Are there notable differences? Well, let's take a look at this fold out here. First off, on one side, you have this cool reproduction of the original Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie poster, which is just beautiful. You can totally put that on your wall and make everybody jealous. But then on the flip side, you have this, called A View from Above Feature Comparison. And essentially what it is it's this roadmap kind of thing that gives you detailed information about the differences between the 3 cuts of the film. And then the director's cut, and there you go. So how cool is that? Well, it doesn't end there, because actually, while you're watching the movie, there's like a pop-up version of this that you can have active during the movie. So when you hit a scene that is different in some way from one of the other versions, or if there's a scene missing from the version you're watching, you'll get a little blurb that'll say, normally at this point there would be a scene here and this would happen, but it's only available in this cut. Or what you're seeing now is only available in this cut, or was only in the special edition previously but has been altered slightly for this. It just gives you tons of information about all the differences between the movies. It's like a custom info feature dependent on which version of the film you're watching. So if you're watching the theatrical cut, it'll give you information about the other versions, or it'll give you information about scenes in the theatrical cut that aren't in the other versions. That's another thing that's interesting about the 3 different cuts, is there is material in each one of those cuts that is not in any of the others, and vice versa. I mean, they all tell the same story, obviously, but they're 3 quite different versions of that story. And some give you more information on certain things than others, and others give you less information on certain things. Like brief history of Close Encounters. The theatrical version was released in 1977. It was had a running time of 135 minutes. It was a huge hit, massive hit. Steven Spielberg had just come off of Jaws 2 years earlier. This was his next big film, and it was massive, just a huge hit. So there was a few things that he wanted to have in the movie that he just didn't have time to film. So because it was a huge hit, he was able to approach the studio and say, hey, would I be able to film a few more scenes and then we can re-release Close Encounters as a special edition and, you know, make it even better? Well, and the studio's just like, re-release a big popular movie and make even more money. Sure, why not? How much do you need? So they gave Spielberg the green light to shoot a few new scenes, and he recut the entire movie, incorporating the new scenes, cutting some stuff out, changing some things, and released the special edition version in 1980, which clocked in at 132 minutes. Now, the big difference in the special edition version, it's a bit of a spoiler here, for those of you who haven't seen the film, bit of a spoiler. That's your spoiler alert. Spoiler alert over. You're in spoiler territory now. Okay. At the end of the movie, when Roy goes into the mothership, in the theatrical version, you don't see the inside of the mothership. He just goes into it and disappears, and that's the last you see of him. In the special edition, Spielberg filmed some new material. Well, he filmed a lot of other scenes as well. A lot more of some of the other characters investigating the strange goings-on around the world and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. Definitely adds to it, and you know, I think it makes it all work better. But at the end of the special edition, that final scene of Roy going into the spaceship actually continues, and you see some shots inside the spaceship, so you get to see what it looks like inside. Now, in interviews, and the interviews on this set, Spielberg has said he always felt that was a mistake, and that the inside of the spaceship should have been left up to the imagination of the viewer. Because, I mean, think about this, okay? The power of imagination is limitless. Whatever we can dream up in our heads is going to be far more spectacular than anything that anyone could ever show us on screen. So why spoil that, you know? And that was Spielberg's thinking on it, was that it should be left up to our imaginations. And then finally we have the director's cut, which was released in 2007, if I remember correctly, for the 30th anniversary. Anyway, the director's cut is really interesting because, first off, it's the longest of the 3 cuts. It runs 137 minutes. So it's 5 minutes longer than the special edition and 2 minutes longer than the theatrical version. So you might just assume, oh, so he just threw in everything from the previous editions. Almost. Almost. You're very close. That's very, very close to what it is. He basically took a lot of the new scenes that were created for the special edition and put them in. And then there was also a lot of scenes in the theatrical cut that were cut out of the special edition. He took most of those scenes and put them back in. There's still a couple of scenes that don't appear in the director's cut, I guess just because he felt they interrupted the flow of the story or something. I don't know. Who knows? It's his artistic vision. Who knows? We can't pretend to understand. Bottom line is the director's cut has a very smooth flow to it, and I think plays out beautifully. And I really do feel that it is the best cut of the three for a variety of reasons. At first I was kind of disappointed. It's like, oh, they don't show the inside of the spaceship in this version? Oh, come on. But then I heard Spielberg's reasoning on it, and it sort of got me to thinking, it's like, oh, actually that kind of makes sense. I can understand that. And besides, it's not like we don't have the option to see that if we want to. We have all three cuts right here. So you can watch whichever version you want. You know, if you prefer the theatrical version, watch that. If you prefer the special edition, watch that. If you prefer director's cut, watch that. If you're completely obsessed with the movie and just want to watch all three versions over and over again, go for it. It's wonderful. I love the fact that they did that, and they give you the option to have all three. And not only that, but that they went to so much trouble to point out all the differences. So you really know everything you could ever possibly need to know going in about which version has what. You know, well, which one is the one that shows the inside of the spaceship? Oh, that's the special edition. Okay, well, let's watch the special edition. Okay, cool. Or whatever. Or which is the one that shows Roy actually at work at the power company and he's, like, getting fired or something. It's like, oh, that's the theatrical cut. By the way, that scene that I just mentioned is only in the theatrical cut and not in any of the other cuts. So there's, like I say, there's instances of that for all three cuts. There's material in all three that are not in the others. I'd say watch the director's cut first if you've never seen it before, because it really is the definitive, most complete version of it in a lot of ways. If you like it, check out the other two cuts as well. Now, I gotta say this, in terms of the picture quality, oh, what a revelation. No, I didn't just jizz in my pants, but very close. So first off, it's just yeah. So let's take a closer look. Closer look. Yeah, so just really quickly, I gotta say nothing, because we'll save it for the other part. So, yeah.